You open the app. Two icons, male, female. Maybe a few thoughtful additions now, but biologically, reproductively, the machine wants you to pick one of two doors. It feels like the oldest law in the universe, as fixed as gravity, as obvious as day and night. For roughly the first 2 billion years of life on Earth, the overwhelming majority of biological history, there were no sexes at all. Cells simply split. And when sex finally was invented, the universe did not hand life a binary. It handed it a near-infinite menu. There is a humble fungus, Schizophyllum commune, growing on a rotting log somewhere near you right now. It has not 2 sexes, not 3, but an estimated 23,000 distinct mating types. It can successfully mate with roughly 99.98% of the other individuals it meets. 2 is not the natural state of things. 2 is the strange one. For decades, biologists assumed the answer was obvious. 2 sexes, 2 bodies, one to carry and one to deliver. Common sense. Then, in 1992, evolutionary biologists Lawrence Hurst and William D. Hamilton published a paper that reframed the entire question. Their insight was startling. The number of sexes has nothing to do with bodies and everything to do with a microscopic civil war happening inside your cells. Their argument, cytoplasmic conflict, proposed that the binary isn't about mating at all. It's about policing. When 2 cells fuse, they don't just merge DNA in the nucleus, they merge their cytoplasm. And inside that cytoplasm float the mitochondria, ancient bacterial stowaways with their own genomes and their own agendas. Let 2 sets of mitochondria into one cell and they go to war for dominance, sabotaging the host. The solution evolution stumbled into was brutal and elegant. Only one parent gets to pass on the mitochondria. And to enforce that rule, you need exactly 2 roles. One who contributes the cytoplasm and one who is forbidden from doing so. 2 cups, not 3, not 23,000. The binary is an enforcement mechanism. Look at the hardware, and the abstraction becomes flesh. A human egg is one of the largest cells in the body, a swollen vault of cytoplasm, nutrients, and pristine mitochondria. A human sperm is a stripped-down torpedo, a DNA payload, a propeller, and almost nothing else. By volume, the egg is roughly 10 million times larger than the sperm. The sperm's mitochondria, the few it carries to power its swim, are tagged for destruction the instant it enters the egg. Your mitochondrial DNA is, with vanishing exceptions, 100% maternal. Your father's cellular engines were executed at the threshold. This radical size difference even has a name: anisogamy, unequal gametes. It is the physical fossil of the conflict Hurst and Hamilton described. One sex evolved to hoard cytoplasm and protect it. The other evolved to abandon cytoplasm and simply deliver code. The egg and the sperm
are not two halves of a partnership. They are the surviving treaty of an ancient war.
To feel how arbitrary two really is, step inside the operational cycle of an organism that never made that bargain. Step into the body of Schizophilum commune, the 23,000 sex fungus.
Dawn. There is no looking for a mate here, because there is no scarcity of compatible partners. Spores drift onto the bark and germinate into fine, ghostly threads called hyphae. Each thread carries a mating type identity, defined not by body, not by size, but by a simple molecular password system. Two genetic loci that between them generate thousands of combinations. Midday. Two threads touch. There is no courtship, no display, no investment asymmetry. The only question asked is a chemical handshake. Are your passwords different from mine? If yes, and statistically they almost always are, the threads fuse. No cell is giving, and no cell is receiving. They are equals, contributing identically. This is isogamy, gametes of the same size, the same stake, the same risk. Dusk, where the threads merge, new genetic combinations bloom. There is no battle over whose mitochondria survive, because the system was built differently from the ground up. No sex was ever forced into the role of the disposable courier. No sex was ever burdened as the sole vault keeper. It is a world of near-perfect reproductive abundance and near-perfect symmetry, a world where almost everyone you meet is a potential partner, and no one is built to exploit anyone else. It is, in the cold arithmetic of fertility, vastly more efficient than ours. And life, for the most part, walked away from it. Here is the paradox at the heart of the binary. The two-sex system won, not because it was kinder or more efficient, the fungus proves it isn't, but because it solved the cytoplasmic war so decisively. By forcing one parent to surrender its mitochondria, complex multicellular life unlocked something the genderless world struggled with: large, energetically expensive bodies, stable cellular machinery, animals, plants, us. The tragedy wasn't failure. It was the success. Because the moment you create a giver and a taker of cytoplasm, you don't get equality. You get specialization. And specialization, once begun, runs away from itself. The egg makers, having invested everything in a few precious, costly cells, evolved to be choosy and protective. The sperm makers, having invested almost nothing per gamete, evolved to be plentiful and competitive. From this single asymmetry cascades nearly the entire drama we call the battle of the sexes. Conflicting reproductive strategies, sexual coercion, elaborate displays, parental imbalance, the deep evolutionary friction that runs through countless species. The very innovation that liberated life from cytoplasmic anarchy installed a permanent structural conflict between the two roles it created. We escaped the war inside the cell only by inscribing a quieter war between the sexes, one written into the size of a gamete and echoing all the way up into behavior, biology, and society. The binary didn't end the conflict, it relocated it. We tend to treat the two-sex system as the summit of biological design, the obvious, optimal, intended arrangement. But it is no such thing. It is a truce, struck 2 billion years ago between warring genomes, frozen into the architecture of nearly every complex creature alive. We gained the bodies, the size, the complexity, the long lives, the brains capable of asking why 2 and not 3. And the price was a foundational asymmetry, a built-in tension between the giver and the taker that no organism using this system has ever fully escaped. The genderless fungus on the log is freer, fairer, and more fertile than we will ever be. It simply never got to grow large enough to wonder about it. So the question that lingers is not really about sex at all. It is this: how much of what we call the natural order is destiny? And how much is just a very old compromise, so successful we forgot it was ever a choice?